welcome to episode 410 of the DFO Rundown. As always, brought to you by Bet365. It's never ordinary at Bet365, especially now. MLB playoffs, NFL, there's upsets, crazy, NHL. Get it all one stop. Use the promo code NATION, NATION. I am Jason Gregor. Welcome in Mike Rupp to the show. Rupp, we might have to start calling our pod the Cue Balls or something. That'll be a little funnier. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, buddy. How about you?
Hey, I'm excellent, man. This October is such an awesome sporting month, and there's so much going on. I love it. The playoffs of any sport, I don't care, man. I'll watch a sport I never watched, and it comes playoff time, and I'm in. And so, baseball is such a long season. Can't watch every game. I love that. The NFL's got upsets galore. For our Canadian fans, the CFL's a few weeks away from playoffs. The NHL, now you're 10 days in almost to the season. And already there's some teams where you're like, oh, geez, really good. And then, oh, good, really bad. Yeah. So let's get into it. Now, I know you watched you were at the New Jersey game. So let's start with the Devils and Jack Hughes' performance last night.
Yeah. So it's their home opener, and they were winners of their last two games. It's been a pretty good start, I think, for the Devs so far. The first game of the season was not a good one against the Carolina Hurricanes. And Sheldon Keefe talked about that. But he was impressed at the bounce back, and they really had a dominant game against Tampa. They end up really fighting to get a big win in Game 3 against the Columbus Blue Jackets in their home opener. And then it brought them to this one, and I'm like, how's this going to go? Because you're getting a Florida Panthers team that they've lost a couple in a row. And Paul Maurice is kind of calling them out. It's just as far as their puck management, things aren't really going the way that they want it to be. And the way the game started off, the Devils were kind of on their heels. I thought the Panthers looked really good, but here's the thing. They got a power play late in the first period, and then that kind of gave Jack Hughes some free touches. He starts distributing the puck, and from that point on, I'll be honest, Greg, that was probably it might be the most dominant game I've seen Jack Hughes. And again, this is game 4 of the regular season, so you take it with a grain of salt. And they were also without Sasha Barkov, but this is a team that plays hard. Their decor is intact. That's one of the biggest strengths of their squad. Tarasov was incredible in net for the Panthers. Jack Hughes, though, just kind of started taking over, getting tons of shot volume, which is huge for him because this is a guy, he's always a pass first guy, but when he shoots it, how are you play him, right? Like that's almost what Patrick Kane used to be when he came into the league, when he started got his first 30-goal season. Now all of a sudden this is a game changer. So I just wanted to kind of touch on that. Jack Hughes, and he needed that. The Devils were 2-1 going into that game. Jack was okay. He was fine. It wasn't anything overly egregious either way. But they need him to be great, and he was great in this game. Also, shout out Timo Meier has had a great start. The Devils are looking pretty good right now. That was a big win for them last night. And also Luke Hughes, talking about both Hughes brothers. I thought he had his best game of the season so far. So things are starting to move in the right direction. Their schedule continues to be tough moving forward, but big win last night. Jack Hughes was fantastic.
Well, Hughes had 8 shots. I'm going to look it up, and that's got to be close to a career high for him in a game. Right, and I think
I think Jack had 11 attempts, and Timo Meier had 9 attempts, 6 shots on goal. I mean, between the two of them, and there's a bunch of guys who were going. I mean, it was just a different demeanor they had as that game went on.
And you mentioned Luke Hughes, and Luke Hughes actually had some points prior to that game, and has picked up some points. Really good mobile defenseman, bigger than his two brothers, and he signed his new contract extension. And then Lane Hutson signed his contract extension. I want to focus on those two because it was interesting. The reaction to both signings was very different. Luke, oh yeah, good contract signing. People are like, oh my God, Lane Hutson, this is going to be one of the best value contracts we've ever seen in the NHL. And I'm kind of like, man, I like Lane Hutson. Don't get me wrong. I like him a lot. But if you had to give me a choice in the next 3 years, which defenseman I'd want more on my team that I think is going to help me win in the playoffs, I'm probably going to go with Luke Hughes.
Oh yeah, I would second that. Again, and you just kind of touched on it. I'm just looking up here both deals. So you got Luke at 9, and you got 8.85 for Lane Hutson. So really close. Yeah, really close to each other right there. But whenever you endorse one, people take it as an indictment on the other. I mean, Lane Hutson is a fantastic player. I just think that the stature, the size, the reach, those things that Luke has will serve him well, and it'll serve him well in the right time of year, the playoffs. I still think there's an unproven here for both guys as far as the playoffs go, where we really got to see how they are when they start getting their feet wet more and more into the playoffs, and hopefully Montreal and the Devils both get back there this year. But I agree. To me, I don't really think it's that close. We talked about it on one of the other shows. As far as just even comparing the defenseman Hughes brothers, Quinn is in a league of his own right now. As far as away from Kel McCarr is a different league from that, but Quinn is special. We know that he's a Norris Trophy winner, and I think that when you're looking at that, I don't think Luke will ever get to maybe the point volume that Quinn has and can get to. But I tell you what, if he puts the work in, he'll be a better all-around defenseman as far as on both sides of the puck. So take that value with whatever you want. Do you want a 90-point defenseman, or do you want a 65-point defenseman that's really good and can eat some defensive matchups? I think that's Luke, and he's starting to show that, and it's all based off that skating ability. Lane Hutson has that too, but that reach, it's the reach. He's not overly physical, but even in last night's game, just sitting in on certain players and forwards and squashing plays in the neutral zone, just because he's so confident in his skating and his reach, he can get in there and poke check the puck away. I think that he's the one to build a team around if I had to pick.
Yeah, I just found it interesting, the reaction. Now, maybe it's because one guy signed in a Canadian market, and, Montreal's a little bit bigger of a market than New Jersey. But, I saw people suggesting that, the value contract of Lane Hutson is going to be, top 5, if not one of the best ones. And I'm like, when I look at his numbers, and it's funny, we started with Jack Hughes and Devils fans. And by the way, shout out to all the Devils fans, because they're super passionate. They're, I remember 4 years when Jack Hughes signed his contract extension for $8 million, and he did it after 2. I was like, what's the big rush here? Why do these teams rush when they got another year before the RFA ends? And they're like, oh, he's going to, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, why? Why'd you have to sign him for that? Because if you look at his contract thus far, he's had 1 year where he's really kind of exceeded his value. Otherwise, he's been okay value. Not great, not bad, just okay. And when I look at Lane Hutson, and as a defenseman, he'll put up his points, no question. I don't doubt that. But as the game evolves, and as like anything, second, third, fourth, fifth years get harder, because when you're a good player, guess what? Now teams start to game plan for you. Rupper, you've been in there. You talked about it. Hey, no one's ever game planning for Mike Rupp, but you're game planning for specific players. And when they do that, it gets harder. And so, Lane Hutson, I think he's a really dynamic player. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But there are deficiencies just when you have size. If I got a 6'2" defenseman who skates just as well as a 5'9" defenseman, the 6'2" guy, he's longer. He gets in ways more. He's going to do other things. And that's not a knock on one, but I just found the reaction to both contracts was quite different. And unfortunately, and I wanted to come on, I think Lane Hutson's really good, but just like Connor Bedard, and here's my PSA for Connor Bedard, for any of the national broadcasters, anyone else, stop saying generational player for Connor Bedard. It's unfair.
Yes.
It's inaccurate.
We throw that around way too loosely. Way too loosely.
I was listening to a show, and the guy said, he's a generational player. And then literally 3 minutes later, McKenna's going to be the best draft pick of the last 10 years. What? Well, it can't be both, right? Like, we're not generational.
This is the same generation.
Yes, it's not. This isn't Halloween. It's not candy that everybody gets. Well, hey, everybody gets a generational term. Like, generation should be Crosby, Ovechkin, guys like McDavid, every 10 years who dominate, right? Like, they're on a different level, and you look historically, look at Crosby and Ovechkin, where they go historically and where McDavid's going to go historically. That's generational. It can't be, I like this guy at a junior, so I want to put the G term on him. And then when he doesn't live up to it, he's not that good. No, you were wrong by even putting that on him. So same with Lane Hutson. I like Lane Hutson. He's good, but the overreach of what his value is doesn't help him.
No, and I always find that players, I think we do them almost a disservice, because when guys come in and they're money right off the hop, like they have a big explosion on the scene. I don't want to say I prefer, because obviously he won the Calder last year. I love that. But I think automatically we think, well, he had 60 assists last year. When he gets his goal totals up a little bit more, maybe he'd be pushing 70 assists this year and you get the goals up. I mean, he might be flirting with 90. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, this is the National Hockey League. And so we start seeing some other players that just get a little better each year. I just want to see progress it could be very minuscule, measure in tiny ways, but just getting better and better and better. And I think a good comp to that is, even you mentioned Connor McDavid. Now, that obviously is a generational talent, but Jack Eichel didn't have the same impact when he first came in. Now, Connor is the best player in hockey, and he's still in a league of his own. But that gap has been narrowed quite a bit from Jack Eichel over the last number of years. And again, there's a big gap still, but from where it was, I mean, Jack is getting better, and he's getting better, and he's getting better. And that, to me, it's an adjustment. And I feel like sometimes when players come in and they just burst onto the scene, the expectations there, I think they place expectations on himself. I don't know. I hope he does. I just don't know if Lane Hutson's going to pass 60 assists here for maybe his career in a season or for some time, because you're right. You're game planning. How do we make life miserable? You're not going in there thinking we got to watch out for Cole Caulfield in this spot, Nick Suzuki, blah, blah, blah. You know, I know Patrick Laine bounces around the lineup. There's 100 different ways that maybe you attacked the Montreal Canadiens. Well, now there's one. It's one. It's Lane Hutson. That's the guy if we're going to win this game tonight. So he's still a fantastic player, but I think we need to pump the brakes a little bit on him.
Well, and hey, Nathan MacKinnon's another prime example, right? 4 years of 50 points, and then boom, now he's being like one of the dominant players, top 3 players in the game for sure. So yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with liking players, just heaping on unrealistic expectations on them. And then when they don't reach them, the same people then start carving the player. And I'm like, well, no, you put him on the pedestal that he never deserved to be on. And now you're ripping him off. So love Lane Hutson, really good player, but just want to pump the brakes on that. Now, speaking of good starts to some teams, hey, the Montreal Canadiens, they are who we thought they were. They're one of the most entertaining teams in hockey, man. Cole Caulfield scores again. They're exciting. There's one thing about them. They've got a lot of flash and dash, but they are an exciting team to watch. Like right now, Montreal is one for me. I've got the NHL package, and I'm like, hey, what's going on in that Habs game tonight? Just because they're a team to watch. Like they are really exciting. Like Habs fans right now, like I'm not saying they're a cup contender yet, but I thought at the start of the year, they'd be one of the most exciting teams. And early on, they've lived right up to that. Like they are if you like entertainment, they're one of the best bang for your bucks to watch.
High event hockey. That is a phrase that will drive coaches bananas, but fans, we love it. We want to eat it up. Montreal Canadiens, they are fun to watch, and they're working at that. I mean, they're a young team. I think when you have that much talent on your roster, you got to let your horses run. And I want them to let's see where the ceiling is offensively. We'll take care of the defensive stuff later. I think the bad way of approaching, I'm already St. Louis is the right guy. He understands all those things. Is let's see what we have here before we start bringing the reins back in certain areas. You don't want to sit here and be like, all right, we know you were this type of player before you got to the NHL, but wait, you've got to do X, Y, and Z or you're not going to play. Like there's a fine line there of letting the guys go. And they've got a good thing going for them. The better they get with maybe some of their decision-making as far as time on ice time left in the game situations, it'll serve them good. But you're right, Greg's like, if there's a game to watch, like you're flipping on Montreal Canadiens because you know something's going to be happening.
And the other thing to watch right now in the NHL, and the NHL should go on their site and they should have, I know they used to have those goal horns, right? I can't remember what the beer company was that had them out.
Yeah.
But the NHL, you should have something because people that follow it, oh, the Minnesota Wild are on the power play. Go tune in because the Minnesota freaking Wild power play is unreal. So, Rupper, they've scored 10 power play goals in 4 games. They're averaging 2.5 goals per game just on the power play. There's 7 teams in the NHL who are averaging 2.5 goals per game. 2 of them made it to the Stanley Cup final last year, Florida and Edmonton. Buffalo's at 2.5. Washington's below that at 2.25. So is Calgary. So are the Rangers, like just on the power play. Now, I know like the rest of their game, they've only got 4 goals. But that power play right now with Kaprizov and Zebullion and Eriksson Ek and Tarasenko and what they're doing to score Upper, because I looked at it. So when the Edmonton Oilers set the record for best power play in NHL history, they averaged 67 shots per 60, right? That's a high volume, get shots, which it's, I know it sounds like a higher number. That's like basically for every, hour power, they're getting 6-7 shots, but that's pretty high. Like last year, the best team was 62 in the NHL. Early on, the Wild are at 87. Like their puck movement and their willingness to shoot the puck, Kaprizov and those guys, him and Steve Buiam, like it's been awesome to watch. I'm telling you right now. And Rupper, you know how it is. Those guys get some confidence. They are frothing at the mouth when there's a power play, when they come over the boards. They're just like, oh, we're scoring here. There's no doubt. And it is fun to watch.
In Minnesota, they need something like that. Until they're 5-on-5 games, it'll grow and get better, and they'll get more production that way, because that really is a strength of theirs in years past. But to your point, like the other thing too, we look at the odds for the season, and we're on all these shows are given some futures out there, and Z Buiam was one where I thought it was a good bet for Calder, because usually it doesn't go to it's not going to go to a defenseman in a lot of cases unless you have an incredible year like Lane Hutson last year. I don't think Z Buiam is going to have that type of year, but he's going to be leading that power play. So he's going to get the points from playing with Kaprizov. I mean, all those things before the puck is even dropped on the season. But it was funny the other day, Jason Demers brought this up and we did a breakdown on NHL Network, and it was awesome. We started going through every power play up to that point. I think they had 9 power play goals at that time. You know what? I think most people would think, well, Kirill, maybe the addition of Tarasenko. You know who the guy that's making everything work there? It's Eriksson Ek. If you watch, we did a breakdown, like almost every single goal, the little things, what he's doing. Yeah. You talk about shooting the puck a ton, like they're shooting it a ton, but they can, because they've got him in front of the net, taking away the eyes. He's done that about 3 times for goals, just standing in there, keeping plays alive. Like he is a special player that doesn't get enough credit. So as much as everybody contributes, but this isn't the Kirill show right now. Like it's literally, for me, Eriksson Ek that has really helped this power play get going and get the confidence. And that's all you need. You never know where it's going to go from there, but you're right. It's they're cooking. They're like an Oilers power play right now. And it's only been a few games, but it's something special there in Minnesota.
What's unique about it is that all 5 guys have at least 5 shots already in the power play, right? And so you can't necessarily just focus on one set play. They got numerous, and what's unique about it is, when the Oilers power play dominated, McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent-Hopkins had been together for 4 or 5 years. Z Buiam, this is his first year there. Tarasenko just joined the team. Like that to me is what's impressive, is they found instant chemistry right away on that first 5-man unit, and it is. Like, obviously, their penalty kill is terrible right now, so that they're kind of evening out, unfortunately, they're at 60%. But they'll probably figure that out, I would hope. But right now, like that's must-watch TV is when their power play is on the ice. It's great to watch.
All lefties, too. All 5 guys, left-hand shots. Yeah. So, man, take that with however you want to take it. Do you not need that one-time threat? I think, like to your point, the bread and butter is they're shooting the puck. And when your teammate's shooting the puck on the power play, guess what? I know it's going there. Well, you bet your bottom dollar I'm getting to the net early. I'm getting there quick because I know that's what they're doing. That's what we do. We're not thinking twice about it. But 5 left-hand shots is something that's a little bit unique for a power play with that much success.
Yeah, it's kind of reminding me of the Red Wings of yore, right? They barely had any right. I think they had like 2 right shots one year and they won the cup. They just had all lefties and it worked.
Yeah.
Other teams that are off to a good start, there's only one left standing. There's only one team that is still undefeated. I'm not including overtime losses. That's a loss. Just because you get a loser points, you still lost. Carolina Hurricanes are 4-0. And last year, we only had 2 teams get to 4-0. The Flames were 4-0. The Jets were 8-0. The NFL only had 2 teams get to 4-0. Like it's hard to get to 5-0. But we saw the Hurricanes win last night, and they continue to win. But there was a sequence in that game, Rupper, that we don't see it very often. But Lucas Dostal, man, like no hesitation, him flying out of his net late in that second period when Anderson got involved in the scrum.
Yeah, I mean, this. We'll talk about this, and I'll go back to Carolina. I just I love this for both teams, especially early on in Keandre Miller getting in there, getting involved. The new guy in Carolina, I mean, going to be a big part of this team is right now. But you see Freddie Anderson come in here and getting involved in Dostal right away. Like this is great for galvanizing the Carolina Hurricanes, but also a young team. And you see Leo Carlson kind of was involved at the beginning of that. They got young guys, man, to stand up for each other. Like, let's start developing that now. And Dostal, without hesitation, get down there. Nothing happened, but if Freddie Anderson's going to hop in there, don't think twice about it. I love that stuff. I think these things, especially getting them going, these are the moments where after the game, you're sitting there, you're joking around. You're like, oh, yeah, this happened. And, oh, I saw you coming in here. It's awesome. It just makes teams become closer and closer. So I was just kind of focusing more on Anaheim. Having these moments for a young team, I think, is absolutely huge. But to go off Carolina, like you said, I mean, we spoke about them before. I think they're going to win the President's Trophy, and not just because they're undefeated right now. I just think they're that good of a team in the regular season. I still don't know how it's going to fully. I don't know if they've got what it takes to win a Stanley Cup. I mean, they could. This is nothing new in the regular season, them being good. But right now, they're plus 11 goal differential, and I know it's a small sample size right now. It's pretty impressive. I mean, they've been really, really good so far.
Oh, well, hey, when you're doing that and you're winning by that much every game, it's very impressive. And you're winning like they don't give up a ton of shots either, right? So that's the like Freddie Anderson's made 3 starts and he's faced 70 shots. Like he's getting like 23 shots against per game. So that's and that's a pretty. Now obviously I know shots are one thing. How many high danger chances are given up? There's not a huge amount coming from the Hurricanes in that regard. I think we all know the Hurricanes still, can they get that game breaker guy? Hard to do. They tried it last year, and I fully expect them to do it. I think last year showed that from ownership to Tulsky, the GM, that they're going to be swinging big again. And you know what? Depending on how the season goes, we know that Alex Tuck's paused the negotiations on his contract in Buffalo. They finally did get a win for them to maybe, cool things in Buffalo. But that they're going to be like the Vultures are going to be circling if the Sabres are out of it. They got a lot of players that I think people would be interested in. And Carolina would be at the top of my list of guys to go after for sure if the Buffalo Sabres stay out of it.
Yeah, and I know last year you and I talked about it. I was pretty hard on Carolina and Eric Tulsky for the whole managing of the Rantanen, Natchez, all that stuff. I still believe that. I think that was a mismanagement of assets, but I had no idea they were going to be able to go out there, swing this Keandre Miller, go out there and pick up Nikolai Ehlers in free agency. They've done a really, really good job of really being involved on every decision. It seems like whenever a player, there's rumors of movement, the Carolina Hurricanes are in the mix there. So they've been awesome from that standpoint. I wanted to make one more point on them, and my mind just went blank. So they've been extremely impressive so far, and I expect them to be one of the top teams in the league all season long.
I still think they're going to have to manage the starts for Freddie Anderson just due to his history. A guy with that much injury history, the last thing you want to do is ride him too strong. I know Kochekov's out, and that way I haven't seen a report on how long he's going to be out, which isn't good if you don't see one right away. So I think they're going to have to manage the starts and the workload of Freddie Anderson.
I remember what I was going to say now. It jumped back in my mind. I was talking to someone from the Devils organization, and we were talking about something else, just as far as trying to figure out why some teams we see like a lot more injuries, it feels like, coming out of camps, and that was a different conversation. But we started talking about Carolina, and that was who the Devils played in game 1, and Carolina really took it to them in a lot of ways. And what was passed on to me was basically Carolina was flying in game 1. Like, they're in midseason playoff speed, forecheck, pressure, all the stuff that we know Carolina is, and Rod Brindamore has coached them very well to be that. That's their identity. They do it. They've done it in game 1. And that was kind of just brought up there, how impressed, because a lot of teams, we see a lot of sloppy hockey right now, and that's understandable, but we don't see the pace cooking quite to the level of playoff hockey. And I was told that this team right now is playing playoff hockey type speed.
Yeah, which doesn't surprise you, but then you also wonder, can you maintain that all season long?
Yeah,
So we'll see
true.
where it goes with the Cane. Another team and really an individual who's off to a great start is Jack Eichel. 11 points already this season. Vegas scoring a lot of goals. Are 3-0-2, so they got points in every game. And man, Jack Eichel, you talked about it earlier, Rupper, just how he looks bad. And I know a lot of, it's because of Mitch Marner. No, he's not playing with Marner. He's playing with Stone and Barbashev. And now they play in the power play with Marner, but Mark Stone has 9 assists, no goals yet this year. He's been the distributor. Now, Jack Eichel said he wanted to shoot more. He felt like, you know what? I need to shoot the puck more. He's got 5 goals. He's got 27 shots. He's averaging over 5 shots per game so far this season in the NHL, the most by far. And early on, he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. He was going to fire the puck more, and it's made a significant difference for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think that's huge, and we spoke about how he knows that that's something that he has to do more of. And I know that a lot of people it may go back to Mitch Marner and him playing together, but Jack, what did Jack? He's 90 some points last year, I believe.
Yeah.
Did he? I don't think he got
I
to
think
100.
it's smart to have him apart, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, because at the end of the day, he had a pretty damn good year last year, so he doesn't need Mitch Marner. But you never know. You have to try it. You have to try it as much as you can, even 5-on-5, because I mean, who's to say it can't develop into a 120-point player? But you have great flexibility to move it around. But you also have seen this team. Dorofeyev looks incredible. Well, let's start getting him someone who can pass him the puck even more and let him shoot it more, because he's the best shooter on this team. So you see him getting some time here with Mitch Marner. And but yeah, keeping them apart, I think it makes them even more dangerous. And they're going to see each other on the power play, like you mentioned. But they're not quite playing Vegas hockey yet.
No.
They've you know what I mean? So I think this is a great side. I think Jack Eichel is started the season absolutely on fire. And he was my preseason Hart Trophy favorite. I look pretty good with that right now, and there's a lot of times I don't. So I like to just kind of bring that up once in a while.
Well, Vegas is, you know what? Hey, they're scoring a lot and they're giving up a lot. Like there's been 7.4 goals per game so far in their games. They're scoring 4, they're allowing 3.4. You know, their goaltending hasn't been what they want, but I'm not surprised. Like Alex Pietrangelo and Nick Hague, that's a big loss on the back end, right? Like the two guys that replace them just aren't as good. Like, that's not a knock on them. Like Alex Pietrangelo's a guy who's going to get real legit consideration and probably will be a Hall of Famer when his career's, you know, when he finally, officially retires from the game. And, won 2 cups and Olympic gold medal and was a major part of it. So he logged a lot of minutes, and that's a big loss. And I think you're seeing that defensively, but right now their offense is outscoring it. Dorofeye's got 4 power play goals. Their power play is good. Jack Eichel and Stone, that line's great, 5-on-5. So, they can score. And they also got in the news, Rupper, they announced a PTO for Carter Hart because he officially can't, I guess he'll get a contract on December 1st, but what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we knew the dates as far as talking teams was October 15th. And I guess when you're talking about the players available, it's Carter Hart was the one that you probably figured would drum up the most interest, but there's a lot of layers to this, which we obviously know. But from the hockey standpoint, Vegas needs help in net. So whether that's here or somewhere else, I don't know if they're done looking. You have to sit here all season long. It's kind of like Edmonton in some regards, that if you have an Achilles heel, it's the goaltending. And so I don't know if you're ever really content with it. You're just going to keep looking and seeing what's going on. And this is one of them that comes across the desk and you got to make a decision on. So I think the big thing for me, just talking the hockey standpoint, is he hasn't played in 2 years, but even the year prior, he was kind of struggling. So this is no gimme that this is going to work out or whatever the circumstances here. They're looking for something though, because they're not defending well and they haven't really been getting the goaltending so far.
Yeah, I understand the backlash by a lot of people, especially a lot of the women fans and men fans, because you look at the situation now. We can get into it real deeply. I don't want to I'll just say this. So to me, it can't really be half pregnant. The NHL, I thought, could have taken a stand. Hey, you know what? players, you can go your career, you can go play in the KHL. That's where McLeod signed, right? Signed a 3-year deal in the KHL. And you know what? Maybe over time, show some remorse, you can get a second opportunity. And I know people say, well, the court of law. Well, has the court of law ever been wrong in a decision? Have they wrongly convicted people and then they came back years later and found out that that was wrong? Did they, let people walk that turns out that was wrong? Yes, they've made mistakes too. So it happens. And I look at this and I feel like, does the NHL need these players in the league right now? Like, honestly, for the league to function, I don't think they do. But I look and say, okay, well, so Carter Hart signed, but why hasn't Dylan Dubé signed? Now, maybe he will, but why wouldn't he? Because Dylan Dubé had back-to-back 18-goal seasons. There's teams struggling to find guys who can chip in. So if you say from a pure hockey standpoint, well, we think he's good enough, then why hasn't he signed? So there's clearly some mixed messaging here. I know every organization, and when you have 32 organizations, we put 32 humans in a room. They're not all going to view things the same, and that's fine. I don't love the look by by Vegas on this. They made the decision, and that's fine. But me personally, I would have liked them to just teams to say, you know what, we're just going to let this simmer for a bit. And you know what? Hey, if it's another year, and because I really haven't seen any remorse regardless of, because we know that in the eyes of a court, not guilty doesn't mean innocent. And I would just say, when you look at that whole situation, one woman in a room who didn't ask for the other ones to be invited over, guy texts him to come over, and there's 10 guys in a room. Are you telling me it's not an intimidating, and is that an abnormal situation? I think most people would agree. It's abnormal. She didn't invite you there, right? Then they're all there. I just read all the court cases. I saw what happened. I know she was inebriated and all that stuff. My point is, just from a human being standpoint, is that something you'd say, hey, this is normal activity? And that's where I think most would say no. And what was the reason to have to jump in as quick as you could? So that'd be my only stance on it. And I wish I could have seen some remorse, because if you actually show remorse, I feel like there's you can have a second chance if you show remorse. And I just haven't seen any of that.
Yeah, I mean, no, those are all fair and good points. I guess seeing where this goes, everyone's watching. So there's still an opportunity for that remorse and those things to happen. To what you said about Dubé, though, this is where, from the hockey standpoint, I think the decisions are made. It's the position from the hockey standpoint. So, like some of these, I've talked to other fans and whatever, and they've asked about some of these other players. So the goaltending, and I'm not talking about the whole situation in a nutshell. I'm just saying, with everything that comes with a decision like this, is the juice worth the squeeze on players that you don't even know are full-time NHL players? Carter Hart is the one that he plays a position that is very important. And I'm not saying that it means you ignore everything else. If there's one to take that chance on and it could blow up in your face, it's that one. So I think that is probably why we heard the most noise here with Carter Hart.
Yeah, it's probably fair. But like, Dylan Dubé had 18 goals, 45 points. If we're just talking from a hockey perspective, and he's what, 26 years of age? I think maybe he's 27 now. Like, just from a pure hockey standpoint, I would think that guy would get signed. But he's not now. That doesn't mean it can't be, but I just found it interesting. I think you're right. Each organization is going to view it different. And I think some people want the story to go away. Unfortunately, it's not going to go away. This impacts a lot of people. It's something that we don't like to talk about in society, but sexual abuse is the biggest thing that we really have seen no improvements on. If you look at statistically, in the last few decades, we're not perfect in society in North America and lots of other things, but racism's gotten better. At least we talk about homophobia has improved. It's not where it needs to be, but at least there's been some strides there. There's been no strides positive. 1 out of 3 girls, 1 out of 6 boys. Like, it's just a number that as society, we should say, I would not want a human being to be on the receiving end of that, because that's a lifelong thing that you have to fight against as a survivor of that. And probably even as a perpetrator. I think perpetrators deep in their hearts know what they do is wrong, and it's probably hard to live with. So we'll move on from it, but I just think it's something that needs to be discussed.
I think it matters
to have a conversation.
I think it matters what you do about it moving forward too. You can't go back in 100%. Time, but there's a lot again, that's where the eyes are going to be. And when I say eyes on the situation, I don't mean how he's going to play hockey. How is he going to carry himself? What's he doing about trying to? You're never going to make whatever the circumstances of the situation were. You're not going to make them right. But what are you doing for all those things you're talking about? Education on this. Let's try to make a difference in a positive way. So I think that's where I would like to see something done, and that's where kind of my focus will be.
For sure. Now let's move on. We've talked about a lot of the teams that are off to great starts. Rupper, unfortunately, when there's good, there's also teams that are at the other end of the spectrum and are struggling. And one of the teams, to me, I thought this was my easiest prediction of any team, that the Calgary Flames would struggle to score. And guess what? Because they brought back the whole team that they had last year where they struggled to score. And here they are early on. They're struggling to score. There's more pressure on their goalie. You know what? He's going to face tougher chances because they might have to cheat a little bit here. You know how teams work, goalie coaches. They know the game of Dustin Wolf better. And if you look at their numbers in Calgary, they cannot score at all. And, Dustin Wolf's numbers aren't saving them. And I think Calgary needed to have a year like this, but I think the Calgary Flames, as hard as it might be, they got a new arena coming in a few years. Gavin McKenna's on the horizon, man. Yes. Like, it's not the worst thing for Flames, but this is going to be a real tough year for them. Last year, everything went right for them to stay in that hunt, and they couldn't score. And I saw nothing in the offseason make me believe they were going to score more this year.
No, because they didn't do anything, and I don't know where this season goes as far as where they're at. I mean, there's some players on this team I think it could be traded out of Calgary, so I don't think it's going to get any better here anytime soon. I guess the reason why I would say that maybe part of this was quote unquote the plan, the Gavin McKenna plan, if you will, is the fact that nothing was done because you had such a great season by Dustin Wolf, and I think to come back and whatever you want to say, sophomore slumps, these things are real, and you can't expect him just to come out and pick up where he left off. I think it was an unbelievable run that he was on, but you didn't do anything to help him in goal support, even defensive play in front of him. So that's what makes me think that they're okay. Let's just develop players this year. It feels like we'll keep trying to create our culture and move forward. But to me, this is a Gavin McKenna type move because nothing was done. And here's the other part too, and I know Jonathan Huberdeau has been taking it on the chin since he's signed that contract. Not having him in there, he still generates.
He was good last year.
He still generates. And I know he's not generating the 100-point clip that he did in Florida, but he generates offense for a team that's starving for it. They're missing him a lot as well.
Yeah, and Pospisil, like, he's a real jerk to play against, so they miss those guys. But like Rasmus Andersson, it should, get them a pretty good return. He's got a great cap hit, so he can fit into a lot of team salaries. A good player.
Every team would be interested in that. I think every team. I love Rasmus Andersson. If I believe you get this right shot guy who's got a little fire in his belly, like I love Rasmus Andersson. I think he should fetch them really big return.
Yeah, and they've already got their first rounder and Vegas's first rounder this year. They got a third rounder already from Vancouver, I would think. Now, they don't have many other pending UFAs, but that doesn't mean you can't make trades with guys who have, a few years left on their deal, right? So we'll see what they do. But Anderson's obviously, I think, going to be the most sought after guy, maybe in the NHL, when you look at his position, how he plays, and his cap hit at 4.55. Like, that is very affordable for lots of teams to bring in. And even, in the new NHL salary cap in the playoffs, that's something to consider for a guy like Rasmus Andersson. The LA Kings, not off to a good start at all, Rupper. Mm-hmm. And like, they lost to Pittsburgh last night.
Hey, you called this. You called this. Yeah, get your flowers, man. You called this right away.
Yeah, their defense is slow and they don't really move the puck. And that is, in today's NHL, man, I don't think it's a great combination to have success.
So I don't want to pile on the LA Kings, but I think they're in a situation, they got to be very careful. But then again, I don't know how they can move forward without having this guy there. Adrian Kempe is a talent.
Dude.
But I just
really
I don't know where I put him though. Like, I don't know, is he what he means to that team, because they don't score goals, is immense. And now you're talking about Kobe's last year. I mean, it's going to even get bigger, but like, how much do you pay him for what's going on here? And like, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe the cap's gone up enough where they can quote unquote even overpay. I don't know, but I like him a lot. I just don't know. My gut feeling tells me this contract's going to go somewhere where I don't like it, that number. I don't know what you think.
Well, I look at Adrian Kempe. Like, you know, him and Kyle Connor are very similar. If you look at the last 3 years, 106 goals for Connor, 104 goals for Kempe, right? Kempe, a little bit bigger. I think skates a little bit better overall, but very similar. And Connor got 12 mil by the Winnipeg Jets, right? To stay there. So I'm sure the Kempe camp will be looking and saying, hey, that's probably where we start. Now, there's always different things to come in. If you want to stay in your city, and we've seen a lot of guys stay in their city, they're like, okay, I'll stay there. Some guys take cheaper than they could get on the open market, or even get in a closed market like Connor McDavid. We all know he could have got more if he wanted it, but he chose not to. So there are lots of factors, but maybe it's because I've seen Kempe so much in the playoffs the last few years, Rupper. Like, there's not many wingers that I think do what he does. And I know he plays on the West Coast, so maybe a lot of people don't see him, but big, can absolutely skate, can fire the puck, is not like Kempe is physical, and he has got a chip on his shoulder. Like, I'm telling you, teams that are looking for a scoring winger, he would be right up there for me at the top of the list. And I know he's going to get big money, but those guys don't come along very often. I think, you know, it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure the Kings are going to want to try to sign him because they don't want to lose Kopitar, who's retiring, and then Kempe walks as a free agent, right, in the same year.
No, they'll get him signed. They'll get him signed. And but to my point, though, it's kind of the perfect storm for the Kempe camp. They could almost name their number. They can almost say, even what you're saying, Kyle Connor setting that great comp, him putting it at 12. And you said this, I don't know if you meant it this way. You said that's a good starting point. I think that's how they're looking at this. That's just a starting point. I think Kempe is going to, I don't know. I don't know how he views the situation. If he's like, all right, I'm good with this, so we can have X, Y, Z for other people, or whatever the way he views it. But it's just, I'm concerned where the final number is. I say that in a positive because I think he's a great player, and you don't find Adrian Kempe, you're going to be looking for him. But because they can't score goals, because they're losing their captain, all these different things, I think it just feels like the perfect storm for Adrian Kempe.
Well, here's my question to you, Rupper. If you're Adrian Kempe, Kopitar's leaving. You've been there now. This is your 9th full season in the NHL. You've never won a playoff round. Would you be like, hey, I can get money anywhere? Do I want to go somewhere where I got to bet? Because the guys who stayed, Jack Eichel, they've won. They've had success. Even Kyle Connor, like, they've won a few series at least in Winnipeg, right? McDavid's obviously went to 2 Cup finals. You know, you saw the big name potential free agent guys. You know, Kaprizov, he got 17 mil, so that may be a little bit different of a reason. But I look at Kempe, and to me, for him to stay in LA, he might look and say, like, I got to get maybe not as high as Kaprizov, but I might have to get a $15 million where I'm like, okay, this is too much to just walk away from, because otherwise I wonder if he looks and says, hey, Kopitar's leaving, you know, Drew Doughty's getting older. Like, maybe this isn't the, like, I could sign here and be comfortable, but I might not have a chance to win. Maybe I want to go somewhere else. That to me is, especially if this, because you know how it is, Rupper, we're all victim's the wrong word. We're all human beings, and recency bias impacts all of us, right? When things are going well and this or that, you know, we kind of forget about, you know, if it was bad before, or if it's going bad, it's hard to remember the times that it went well. And if the LA Kings stay in the ditch, maybe all of a sudden that makes it more likely that Kopitar's like, maybe I just want to think this through a bit.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at the roster too, I mean, you've got next year on Phil Deneau. So Phil Deneau's got 1 more year. I'm just saying, from depth purposes, being a competitive team, there's going to be decisions there. Then you got Drew Doughty coming up, and not too long as well after next season too. So I mean, the future is a lot of questions there. So it's a great point. I think the one thing to have going for him is it's LA Kings, and that's a destination spot for a lot of guys.
Place,
but let's put it this way, he's in a good spot. If he wants to go
Oh,
see
yeah,
what his options are, if he wants to see what his options are, see what teams that have star players need a scoring winger to play with a specific center. I mean, there's going to be no shortage of options for Adrian Kempe if he wants them.
And if you're the LA Kings at the trade deadline and he doesn't have a contract extension, Rupp, I think then Ken Holland, who's a veteran, is going to have a conversation like, are you signing with us? Because if you don't trade him at the deadline and he walks, that's really going to hurt you. So, I think they'll probably try to get a clear answer. And if he becomes available at the trade deadline, Rupper, oh my God. Like,
you have to, again, Ken Holland he's a legendary manager. He knows how to handle this situation. So I'm not telling him anything he doesn't know, or probably a lot of the listeners don't know. He has to. You have to trade him if you don't have a contract by trade deadline. Because this is not the Mitch Marner and Toronto Maple Leafs. Because Mitch Marner can leave and you can still have a hell of a team. You do not score goals. This guy is a goal-scoring winger, your best player. You have to get him, or you have to trade him and get a huge return.
And for any of the listeners, $5.5 million cap hit for Adrian Kempe. Like, he would be, oh my God. Like, I can tell the teams would be lining up. You could get a pretty big return for Adrian Kempe. That would be that big one. So yeah, Kings, the Sabres, hey, they got that huge win against Ottawa, take some things off, and then we'll get to Pat Puff here, Rupper. But man, like, hopefully that can turn it around, because I feel for the fans a lot. They got some good players there, and the players obviously have to play better and turn things around. Do you have any faith that was just a short start, or are you still concerned about them, especially like the Josh Norris trade? We said at the time, why are you making that trade? Like, Josh Norris, skill level, great. Unfortunately, he's hurt. He's been hurt twice now in 4 games with the Sabres. He's out long-term again. Like, he just has chronic shoulder injuries. It sucks.
Yeah. Man, there's a lot with the Buffalo Sabres. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to sit there and just keep burying a team. I just don't see how it's going to change, or why we should feel like anything's going to change. I mean, they're going to do what they do. They're going to struggle. They're going to find themselves in a bad spot, and then they've got some talented players. They'll put some games together, probably when it doesn't mean anything, and then you'll kind of go through the cycle all over again. That's what it's been like for a number of years. One thing I was kind of concerned with the other day. Again, I was working with Jason Demers, and we kind of were going over some sound, and Rasmus Dahlin said some strong things as a leader after they were struggling. But in that game, he was one of the culprits. So it's like that wasn't addressed in the sound. So I'm like, I think he's a fantastic defenseman. He's trying to learn how to lead when he hasn't really had much guidance, I don't believe, there in Buffalo. So I'm not trying to pile on him, but as a teammate, when the team is struggling, you're going to call out the team, but you kind of aren't addressing your mishaps or shortcomings. That's where it gets a little, people start finger pointing. And once you start doing that, it's bad. It's I don't know. It's something that's contagious. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to change that much, to be honest with you. They had an impressive game the other night, putting up some goals, but we knew they could score goals. They can't defend, and they haven't defended for a long time.
Yeah, no, it's very true. Let's bring in Pat Puff for another edition of Fill in the Blanks. Patty.
Hey, Gregs. Yeah, thanks. Let's just jump right into it. Fill in the Blanks presented by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary. Bet365. Download the app. Get into the game. Use code NATION. Bet365 must be 19 or older. First one I have for you. Fill in the blank. Who has been the most surprising trade acquisition of the offseason so far? And I'll give you a couple examples. Shelov's in 3 games in Pittsburgh, a .908 save percentage. Marner, 6 assists in 5 games in Vegas. And it could also be a negative one. I know you guys touched on Ehlers in Carolina. Great trade, but 0 points in his first 4 games in Carolina, who's rolling and scoring at will right now. So which trade acquisition has surprised you the most, good or bad, Gregs?
Good or bad? Well, I would probably, I'm going to say Shelov's because he started the season opener for them. And I thought he was a decent goaltender for sure. I don't know if he's a long-term answer as a full-fledged starter or not, but him coming in, I was surprised that he got the opening night start. They're playing back-to-back, so you know they're going to play both their goalies anyway. So that would be the surprising one to me. And I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of a message sent there. I don't know. But the Penguins have battled maybe more than I thought. So I would go with Shilov's only because I didn't think he was going to be, quote, their starter.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to. Shilov's has been a nice surprise. I don't know. I mean, Keandre Miller had that 2-goal game. I thought was pretty big, and he's a guy that logs a lot of minutes.
Yeah.
That team's, we said before, hasn't lost yet. So I think that's a big add there. And just for him, it's all confidence based. If he can keep that confidence up, it'll be huge. I'm trying to think if I'm missing someone that's. Well, what were Tarasenko's numbers that when we were talking? I don't know what his season stats are, but just the fact that power play is all world, and there's a lot of probably different reasons, but he's one of the new guys on it, so I'm sure that's a threat that opens up options.
Yeah, he's been good on the power play. They got 4 assists, but he's like -4 overall, so it's kind of a.
So let's leave that one off.
Yeah,
yeah,
he's
no, I probably I I don't know who else are we missing. Like who else you got?
Well, there's not this was a pretty quiet off season, to be honest, right? Like there wasn't a ton of moves. The Keandre Miller one, I think, is a really good pick because there wasn't a whole bunch of even bigger or kind of like middling off season. Like Ehlers, of course, was a free agent move, but even that there wasn't this was one of the quietest off seasons in the NHL that I can recall. So there's not a lot of choices, but I like the Keandre Miller one.
All right, and a similar style question. Who is quietly having a hot start to the season that no one's talking about? And I'll give you a couple examples for that one. Frankie Nazar in Chicago, 2 goals, 4 assists in 5 games. Boldy, 4 goals, 4 assists in 4 games. You briefly talked about Pinto, 6 goals in 5 games.
That's who it is.
Yeah, could even be a goalie, though. Wedgwood, 939 and a 158 in 5 games in Colorado. And Talbot's numbers are impressive as well. So we'll start with you, Rupper. Maybe it is Pinto. Who do you got as the hottest? Well, a hot start that no one's talking about.
A hot start no one's talking about. I got to give him some love because I've been pretty hard on this guy. And maybe people will be like, what do you mean? Because we've seen him as a rookie come in and he scored a bunch of goals and looked fantastic. I'm going to say Connor Bedard. So Frankie Nazar has been incredible. But I think that's who Frankie Nazar is. We saw at the end of the season. I had a lot of question marks on Connor Bedard. So he's got 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points, 5 games. So that you could be like, well, I mean, for a guy like that, that's not that crazy. Mike Kelly had these stats the other day, came across. He's one of the top guys in the NHL in loose puck retrievals, puck battle wins, he's doing other things now. And that's what he lacked prior. So I think the fact is Chicago Blackhawks, all of a sudden now they're kind of a squirrely team out there. They're not an easy out. They're going to battle. They're going to battle back, even when they lost some games early on. But I think Connor Bedard starting to show a little gumption. A lot of people, and I would be the one too, that said I'd rather have Macklin Celebrini. I don't know if Connor Bedard has heard that, but he's playing much more sound overall game this season. So I'd say no one's talking enough about that.
To me, I don't even think it's close. It's Shane Pinto. Like they've lost Tkachuk for a month. Shane Pinto has 6 goals in 5 games. The rest of his team has total of 9 goals. He's been fantastic so far for Ottawa. And Shane Pinto is, they've got Tim Stützle and they got Tkachuk and people talk about Sanderson and Shabbat, but Shane Pinto, I've really liked him for a few years in Ottawa. And I think, somebody's got to step up in the absence of your captain, and Shane Pinto, unbelievable start to me. I think it's fantastic. He's tied for the league lead in goals, right? Like Dorofeev had 35 goals last year. So you're like, okay, he's off to a decent start and he's scoring on the power play. But Shane Pinto, he is scoring, he's got no goals in the power play. All his goals are 5-on-5. So to me, it's Shane Pinto, even strength, but Shane Pinto all the way.
I think that's a good answer. I think for me, it's Wedgwood, just a 939 and a 158 in 5 games when, a lot of people were talking about the Avs having a rough start with Blackwood being out. So I think it's Wedgwood, but Pinto is definitely a good one. Last one I have for you. Which rookie has impressed you the most? We'll jump into the futures. Demidov still leads the Calder race, but there have been a few standouts. Zeev Buium being one that maybe has a shot. You talked about that briefly, Rups, earlier in this one. But who would you lean towards outside of Demidov? Or, I mean, I guess you could pick him still too, but the odds have changed a little bit now that we're a couple weeks in. Greg's.
Well, I'm going to go with Oliver Kapanen. He's got 3 goals in 5 games for Montreal. I don't think he's going to win Rookie of the Year, but he's had a great start, and I don't want to take another one. I'll see who Rupper picks, but I have another guy who's very close. But I'm going to go with Kapanen, only because, there was so much talk in Montreal about Demidov, and rightfully so. Kapanen said he's had a really good trigger man so far this season, 3 goals in 5 games. That's a great start for a rookie.
There's so much here. There's so much here even on our screen right now to look at that I just love. I mean, this Nikishin's, he's a stud. He is a stud. So Carolina gets even the rich get richer in that guy. I was pretty bullish on Snuggerud. I'm kind of concerned Snuggerud's 5-on-5 play. I think he's going to be bouncing up and down. Like he scores a couple goals, move up to the first line, then maybe his other parts of his game aren't quite there. So then Montgomery will move him down to like a third line. So I'm going to say a low-key, sneaky one is Gritzia from the New Jersey Devils. This kid can play, man. He can scoot. He's got some wheels. He creates a lot. Now, my biggest thing is there's only one puck on the ice. There's a lot of guys on that team are going to demand the puck on their stick. So I think he might be limited in maybe some of his looks, but he's an awesome young player.
The other guy that, Bennett Seneke for Anaheim. I remember when people were shocked when he got taken 3rd overall. He's had a good start, and It's hard to overlook Matthew Schaefer, 18 years, like second youngest defenseman to score a goal. He's got point. I think he's the first rookie to have a point in each of his first 4 games in the NHL. I think for a defenseman, for sure. I think the NHL tweeted that out last night. So I got to give some love to Schaefer too, man. Like early on, there's some rookies that are definitely, and the great part about that is we'll see them early. Then let's see what happens at game 40 and 50, because the NHL it's hard, but there's lots of young guys that are giving their fans a reason to think that the future is bright for them.
Yeah, I think that's, like you said, there's 4 or 5 guys on here that have a legitimate shot at it. And coming into this season, we kind of thought like there's only going to be a couple rookies, but Schaefer's looked great. Seneca's looked great. So I'm going to be following this one as the season goes on, because it's definitely interesting. But that is Fill in the Blanks, brought to you by Bet365.
Now, one thing, Patty mentioned Cam Talbot Rupper. So look at Detroit. So, Todd McClellan, I think they realized that, hey, we gotta get going here. It's sink or swim here. We've been talking about, this is the year Detroit finally gets in for how long? And they went out, they acquired John Gibson. He starts the first game. He doesn't finish the game. He allows 5 goals on 13 shots.
Yeah.
And hasn't seen the net since. Cam Talbot started the next 3. He's won all 3. He's got a .932 and a .178 save percentage. Like, I guess if we were talking about off-season acquisitions that haven't been good, maybe now I know it's only 1 game, but it's wild that John Gibson, eventually he's going to get another start here. But to me, it's their next game's against the Oilers, and that's one of Cam Talbot's former teams. So, or at least I think it is, or maybe the Detroit's playing tonight. I know they play him on Sunday, but that, like Cam Talbot there, that and Wedgwood, like the Blackwood injury, everyone's like, oh my God. But I've been talking about Scotty Wedgwood for a while. I thought he was one of the best backups in the league. And that Dallas, like just as a security blanket, you can miss that. And Colorado fans are probably like, oh my God, Scott Wedgwood is this good? Like he has been unreal for them. So him and Talbot, I think, have been 2 of the best surprises in between the pipes in the whole league.
I love when coaches just go with the hot hand. That's the goaltending position in 2025. Like that's what you need to do, is when you get a guy that's going and the guy's not, and it could be that quick. I mean, Gibby, yes, he had a rough debut. Now, do I think John Gibson is going to continue to have games like that? No, I don't. I think he's a pro and he'll figure it out. But I also think that the Detroit Red Wings are susceptible to having nights where their goalies see stuff they probably shouldn't. But then you talk about Cam Talbot. He's looked good. Run with him. It doesn't matter that Gibby was the free agent guy that you're bringing in here to kind of take this team to another level. You've got stronger goaltending by committee right now. So ride it. And eventually you're going to get games from Gibby. If he looks good, you can start dividing it up a little bit more. And then maybe it turns into John Gibson's run for a stretch. I think back a couple years ago, and I loved it. And this is where it gets a little bit delicate. Is you remember when Shesterkin was struggling a little bit? He was a little dinged up, and Johnny Quick was like on a run. And I think it was coming out of All-Star break. Igor was healthy. They started going with Johnny Quick again. And I think you got to manage some egos in those types of situations when you have like an alpha number one. But I love that stuff. You need good goaltending. So I don't care where it comes from. You play well, you're going to play. I like that move by Todd McClellan. And you mentioned some great goaltending out there and opportunities out in Colorado.
Yeah, no, Detroit, man, we looked at teams that had to take a step. I know it's very early, but all you can do is play the games you played, and they're 3-1.
Yeah.
They bounced back. They beat Toronto in 2 consecutive games. So that's good news for Detroit in a division. And lastly, I guess let's end with the Cup champs who started 3-0, but now have lost 3 in a row. And Paul Maurice is never afraid. I think he knows how to challenge his team. He knows his group. But, like Barkov and Tkachuk, that's a massive loss to any team. I don't care how good you are. I don't care if you're defending champs or not. Any concern over the Panthers that, great start, but now maybe the emotion wears off. And, you've been in the Cup 3 years in a row. You're out with your number one center. Your top line winger's out. Not to mention Nosek, who's a good depth player, who's out. Then you throw in, they just lost another defenseman for multiple months. Is this going to be maybe a tougher slog here moving forward for the Panthers?
So it's going to be a bit of a grind. I don't see any way they don't make the playoffs, and they'll buy time until Matthew Tkachuk comes back, which will be a huge boost for them. But when you look at this roster here, the thing that jumps out to me the most, I love these players. And I've said it numerous times. I'll say it again. They're one of my favorite teams I've ever watched play hockey in the National Hockey League. Just the way they very businesslike. They do it the exact same way all the time. But here's the fact of it. You've got players when I'm looking here. Sam Bennett, Conn Smythe, he's not normally a regular season guy. He steps up when you need him to step up in those big moments. I would probably say the same thing. Evan Rodriguez has been a guy like that as well. Brad Marchand's at a point in his career where he was incredible, could have won the Conn Smythe last season or in the playoffs as well. But he's a guy where you look at his regular season last few years, he's just simply getting older. He's a heck of a player, and he was noticeable last night in New Jersey. Carter Verhaeghe, same thing. These aren't guys that can carry the mail for 20 games. They need each other. Like one night it's this guy, one night it's that guy, one night it's this guy. Like that's how this team's built. And right now they're not necessarily getting that. But I think more importantly, like you mentioned, Paul Maurice isn't happy because a lot of their structure in other areas of their game has dropped off. But then you look to the back end, that should be their sustainability. Their back end should be their bread and butter. They just simply haven't defended enough, not the back end, as a team like they need to kind of weather the storm here. So you said it before. They just kind of snuck in last year, did they not? Down the stretch, like they weren't like
98 points. Yeah.
Okay, so like it wasn't like this is a team. I mean, when we talk about them and they've been the 3 straight Stanley Cup Finals, like they weren't in contention for a President's Trophy. So it's going to be ugly, but they're a team that can deal with ugly. They kind of are ugly. I think they'll be okay, but they don't look like themselves right now.
Yeah, no, that's totally valid. And they're having it's one thing. There's a few guys who signed late, Rupper, that aren't playing because some visa issues with the government shutdown. Guys can't get work visas to play in the NHL yet. So that's something to watch to see how long that drags out. So we'll see. Rupper, have yourself a great weekend. And tomorrow, next Friday, we have a very special edition. I'll just tease. I'm not going to say what it's about, but something that's going to be an ongoing once a month thing, and that will likely change. And Rupper and I are going to be GMs essentially. So we'll discuss it on next week's pod. So we'll wear your GM hat, Rupper.
Oh, okay. I will. I'll wear my GM hat, and we'll tell everybody how it needs to be.
Yeah, there you go. So there we go. Have a great weekend, everyone. That's the rundown brought to you by Bet365.
Hey, hockey fans, if you enjoyed that video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We have you covered for everything you need. Exclusive interviews on The Sheet with Jeff Merrick, all the latest hockey news on Daily Faceoff Live, and you can always get your morning started with Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohn on Morning Cup of Hockey. Don't miss a minute. Hit that subscribe button.